What's up, Cinephiles? Today's discussion will be a review of the new Netflix comedy series called Space Force. It centers on a group of persons tasked on establishing the sixth branch of US Armed Forces called Space Force. And amongst other shenanigans, the goal of this division is to make America proud again by putting American boots back on the moon. This series stars Steve Carell as General Mark Naird, John Malkovich as the Chief Scientist, and Ben Schwartz as Social Media Manager Tawny, among other cast. Today, I am joined by my friend from Rappler. He's a senior content producer and also the section head for Hustle. Tristan Zinampan, welcome to the channel.
Thanks, Ev. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you start off with your overall thoughts of the show?
Top line, it's just okay. It's not the best thing I've seen. If you make me watch the whole thing based on the first 1 to 3 episodes, I wouldn't continue it. It's not compelling enough. Greg Daniels, Steve Carell coming back together, it's okay that you're doing something different, completely different from The Office. But at the same time, what it wants to be, I'm not quite sure what that is. It wants to satirize the current administration. Basically, its crazy plans, putting up a military division in space, but then it feels quite safe. I mean, it's Netflix, so I'm not surprised that it wants to do something that's more appealing to a broad audience.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I think the concept for this series started back when Donald Trump created that sixth division and they want to make fun of it. So right from the get-go, I'm expecting that this will be a satirical piece of comedy. There are some dramatic moments here, and then there are some funny moments here, and then not so funny moments. I'm not saying that those elements, those themes should not be together, but the way they mesh those genres, they don't feel natural to me. Putting it on layman's terms, I just needed more jokes. And I guess I expected, given that you mentioned that the showrunners for this are Greg Daniels and Steve Carell, I am expecting getting vibes of The Office, Parks and Recreation, for example, that works as a smaller version for the Space Force. That division is being ridiculed as like the less important division of the local government, while Parks and Recreation is able to do effective comedy and satirical comedy. I think Space Force misses the mark. I wish they made the character of Steve Carell here more obnoxious. And this is just my personal taste, you know, because I think that if they want this to become more effective as a satirical comedy, making him more obnoxious throughout the show, they are going to question the necessity of Space Force. I think in one episode here, they tackled about the importance of sending an orange to an astronaut, which is apparently very costly, and that budget could be allocated for the food stamps of the hungry population of America.
I don't want to preempt things, but I think with Greg Daniels comedies, like, I think this was also translated into Mike Schur's works, like The Good Place and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. What he tries to do is, he tries to embed good character relationships. He tries to make them more human. Recall The Office or Parks and Rec. Both of these shows, they had pretty bad first seasons. I mean, not super bad, but maybe like Space Force, mildly entertaining. But here to the character dynamics after the first season, bring to the fore the things that work, and then place on the back burner some parts that weren't as successful. So I'm thinking this is what he can do for Space Force, like make John Malkovich's character more in the forefront. Bring Captain Ali's character, make her a semi-lead of the show, like what Greg Daniels did with Chris Pratt for Parks and Rec. But I think the problem with Space Force, which is a bit trickier, it's inherently political. You cannot remove Space Force from the Trump administration, and to make comedy out of this very political scenario, you shouldn't be toothless. And I think that's a problem with Space Force. It wants to do two things that are diametrically opposed. You wanna poke fun at a workplace that's deeply political, the administration, but how do you do that without alienating audience? That's the challenge. How do you still make it biting? How do you still make it deeply comedic? As you know, many comedies right now, they're not coming back. The showrunner of HBO's Veep said, the world is too ridiculous, it's too outlandish to make any more satire out of it. But the satire that we think of, it's already happening in real life. How do you make it more histrionic? Ridiculous is already our current political climate.
Making comedies nowadays is really hard since a lot of people are trying to be woke now. When it comes to being a satire, I agree it needs to have more bite. We get a strong performance from Steve Carell, which is expected. He shines in this type of roles, him sporting this gruff voice. There's an inherent likability to his character. The person who I enjoyed here is John Malkovich, Adrian Mallory. So in here, he's like the sarcastic voice of reason. I think they're trying to do a body comedy situation here, which could be fun, but I guess I needed more funny jokes on their part. Then the rest of the cast, not to undermine them, but they don't strike me as memorable. There's Ben Schwartz, another inherently funny guy, but whenever I see his face on screen, it just reminded me of like a toned-down version of John Ralphio from Parks and Recreation. There are times here that they attempt to do slapstick comedy, which is fine by me. Best comedies, they can integrate different brands of comedies. In here, the visual gags, they seem grander. This one is a bigger budget. It's not a mockumentary style like one you find in The Office or Parks and Rec. With all that grandeur visual gags, still they fail to make me laugh. Again, I'm just judging this series on the ability to make me laugh. I find myself discontinuing an episode and resuming an episode the next day, which supposed not to be if it's really an effective comedy.
You mentioned the good parts. It has a astronomical budget, forgive the pun. It also has like the best ensemble from TV comedies. Breakout stars, you have Jimmy O Yang from Silicon Valley, Ben Schwartz from Parks and Rec. You even have Jane Lynch, Tawny Newsome, who has a very funny podcast. Yo, is this racist? That's the name of the podcast. It has to find its groove. It has to establish those character dynamics. We already saw hints of a will they, won't they between Jimmy O Yang's character and Tawny Newsome's. So maybe we can see more pairings like this. Ben Schwartz and Jimmy O Yang. That's another example of good relationships that they can build for comedic effect. Even John Malkovich, who's known to be a serious and intense actor, he brings a lot to the table in the show. One way that this show could really work is if they move forward in time. They remove themselves from reality completely. Greg Daniels did this with Upload. He presented a world in the near future. In that way, he could satirize things better without pushing that much buttons. Maybe he could do the same thing here. Again, it's a mild spoiler. They end up going to space. That's something that hasn't happened in reality yet. He can push this to be a completely space set comedy.
Even if this first season kind of felt lukewarm for me and I was kind of a little bit disappointed, I'm still looking forward to a second season because of what you said. It has the potential to find its new groove. I would have wanted season 2 to be more intergalactic. I felt like they needed to scrap away the family subplot going on with Steve Carell because I don't find the relevance here. I mean, sure, they've tackled themes about open relationship. These are all important character moments to show that he's a really busy person. Like, he has no time for his daughter who's prone to do a lot of bad decisions in her life. You know, there's a push and pull in this character, but I felt like they needed to focus on the division itself and then improve the character dynamics. I find it unnecessary that it's just season 1 and there are a lot of guest stars in here. There are some episodes where the guest stars shine way better than the main cast. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Like, this main cast should be properly fleshed out. That's why I'm not vibing much on the supporting cast. But you know, to be fair, this season, I think it gets better as it goes. It starts to find its footing, but by then, there's already an initial impression made that this is not so funny. Show premieres like this, it needs to have a remarkable impact right from the get-go.
Regarding the family aspect, I actually agree with that a lot. Lisa Kudrow, again, another breakout star from another TV comedy, this time Friends. Though I think can be better fleshed out. She's a good comedian. My issue stems mostly with the character of Diana Silvers. Though I loved her in Booksmart, I don't find her character that endearing at all for the show. Like, okay, she's the rebellious teen, but aside from that, there's nothing about her character that strikes me as noteworthy. But again, this is something that can be worked out in the future. Who knows? When it comes to the other guest stars, supporting cast, yeah, they brought in a lot of actors from other shows. Caitlin Olsen, who plays Dee in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you brought her in as a analog of Elizabeth Holmes. You bring in analogs. You have analogs to Nancy Pelosi. You have analogs to Alessandra Ocasio-Cortez. But then they're just there to be stand-ins and nothing more than that. It all goes back to it being toothless. Space Force playing things too safe. You're gonna bring someone in, but then you're doing it for brand recall and nothing anything more than that. I think it's worth watching in the background. I mean, that's my TLDR version of my thoughts on this show. Like, okay, you watch it, but then don't really expect it to be the next big thing, the talk of the town, or even to fill in the void left by The Office or Parks and Rec. I mean, it's a completely different thing. That feels more like a league of their own. It's like a ragtag group trying to pull off this grand plan. Just for me, I'd rather see them focus more on space, try to do away with the whole half-hearted attempt at commentary, and just make it a fun space workplace comedy about a bunch of misfits. If they can make this a complete satire, that would be great. I don't think Netflix will do something that bold, so maybe, yeah, just make it a space set comedy set in the near future.
For season 2, and this is me pitching ideas, like they can do one episode with Steve Carell character being stuck on a spaceship for just the entirety of the episode. You know, that type of humor, if they decide to play it more safe, which is not exactly the best route for this show. But Tristan, how would you rate this show in a scale of 1 to 5?
I'm kind of torn if we should give it a 2.5 or a 3. Lukewarm, as you mentioned a while ago.
Okay, so I think we're on the same page here. Like I've mentioned, there are moments of satirical comedy, goofball comedy, then, you know, heartwarming moments that just don't mesh well together. And I'm just trying to find what they're trying to do here. By the way they set up the last episode, it seems more promising, but I wish they figured immediately the vibe of the show considering the talent involved. I'm going to give this series a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Okay, I think this wraps up our review. Tristan, where can they find you?
I'm on Rappler. You can see my writing culture stuff on Rappler. And then you can also listen to our other podcast on film, Third World Cinema Club. And my podcast on Rappler, Inside the Industry. That's my Rappler podcast.
So, Tristan, thank you for guesting in this show. Also, if you enjoyed watching this video, please click like and consider subscribing to our channel for more discussions about film and TV. Till then, see you guys on the next episode. Bye!